Hi Quinns, hi.
Oh, hey, Paul.
Good work on the Star Wars review, I wanted to say. I really enjoyed it. I really like the camera tricks, the way you did that double thing to make it look like there was two of you.
Oh, yeah, camera tricks, yeah.
Yeah. So you want to get on with the next review now? We've got something manly to do.
Sure.
Great, I'll see you soon.
Okay, Paul, bye.
Everything good, boss?
Yeah.
Do you think he suspects anything?
Not a thing. Brendan?
Yeah?
Do you like oysters?
Spartacus! So let's immediately get the obvious joke out of the way.
I'm Spartacus.
Blood and swords and gristle and throbbing big chesty men and bronzed people.
Glistening
and,
nipples.
All of that stuff and big men is what we've been missing on Shut Up and Sit Down for so long, when we've just had to deal with tiny meeples and flimsy cardboard pieces. So you can imagine our excitement when we heard that a board game of the hit TV series...
Is it a hit?
Spartacus was coming out and
I don't
now
know
it's
if it's
here.
a hit.
I don't know, I don't watch TV. So, based on some TV series somewhere, Spartacus is a game about sending men to their deaths just for your own pleasure. And for coin.
Yeah.
And for prestige.
Nobody was expecting this from the game of a lightly funded TV series, but the fact is, Spartacus has one of the easiest sells in board gaming. You run a gladiator school, you outbid one another for slaves, you organise matches of glorious blood sport involving your own tender workers, and you bet on the result. First player to hit 12 influence is the winner. I mean, that's just wonderful. You tell your friends you want to play that, they're going to crash their car on the way to your house.
So that sounds like a very good premise for a board game, doesn't it? But how does it actually play?
Well, it's very simple.
It's very
Spartacus,
easy.
it's not complicated.
It's not complicated.
It's a bit complicated.
There's a few things to learn.
There's just a few, which is why Paul and I have set up
Fighting
Gladiator
School.
Phase 1.
The influence.
Influence.
No, f off, the lot of you.
So each turn in Spartacus is made up of 3 increasingly exciting phases. The first one, the weakest one, is the Intrigue phase, where you'll draw 3 Intrigue cards, and these will represent your house doing self-serving, amoral things, foxy-faced things, shifty things. You can play these cards now, or you can trade them in for cash, or you might want to keep them for later when they might be more useful. Then you get to do something a bit more interesting, which is go shopping for death stuff.
Let's move on to phase 2, which is Spartacus at its best, or actually just its better. The market phase will see 4 cards laid out on the table, and they'll be revealed one after another, and these are cool death things you can buy, like gladiators, or perhaps they might be sexy slaves, or even deadly weapons. And what happens is a closed fist auction where everyone sequesters some of their money in their fist and then sprinkles their treasure on the table, with the player who bids the most getting the thing, which is cool, it's theatre. What's even better though, is that if players bid the same thing, then more fisting happens, and there's more fisting to be done, and they fist more money. And it's great, it gives the table kind of a cool high rollers vibe. And also what's nice is that anything you own can be sold to other players in just an open market with some nice negotiation. It's fun. Paul, can I say fisting like that? Doesn't it have another meaning? Like
No. And finally, you've got phase 3, which is the phase that puts Spurt into Spartacus.
Paul, I really think it's called Spartacus.
This is the arena phase, where you get to send your gladiators, send them out into the arena like meaty paper aeroplanes.
Paul, I really don't think that analogy works.
And they fight each other. Everyone bids to see who's going to host the forthcoming games, and whoever wins that gets to nominate 2 players to send their gladiators to fight. But I mean, not like the same 2 player gladiator, because that wouldn't make sense. But 2 different players.
Paul, have you been drinking?
Everybody can bid on the fight, on the outcome, although if you're actually involved you can't bid against yourself, that'd be silly. But then you've got a kind of a sort of a dicey dice game where they'll fight, and it's quite tense, it's sort of a bit tense, where when the gladiators fight, they'll gradually whittle each other down, die by die, getting fewer and fewer die as they fight, until eventually whoever's hosting those games has the power of life or death, and they can raise or lower their thumb to decide whether a gladiator slays another, and maybe that'll make them enemies, or maybe they won't, or just... Actually, because sometimes that doesn't even happen, though, because occasionally just a gladiator just outright kills another and like chops their head off, and no one knew that was going to happen, and Rome And Romans.
So that's Spartacus, and that's... Oh, wait, we haven't yet covered how you win. Boring. So everyone's racing towards 12 influence, right? Every time you win the bid to host the games, wherever that token is, you gain an influence. Every time you fight in the arena and your gladiator wins, you gain an influence. And every time your house does its special house thing, because they're all a bit unique, whether it's discarding slaves or gladiators, you gain more influence. Now, immediately, one thing I really like about Spartacus is the fluidity of belongings, the way negotiation lets you turn the game into what you want it to be. Any gladiators, slaves, money, everything can be traded all at the same time. If you want to, let's say you have a sword and a shield, then somebody else is going to go into a fight and they're losing, you can say, well, I'll sell you my equipment, maybe you can give it back to me later. And oh my god, when you win the hosting for the games, or when you've got a gladiator's life in your hand, the pleading that you hear, it is as sweet and succulent as a grape waiting to be crushed by your duplicity.
And all this backstabbing and skullduggery and intrigue is actually at its best and worst during the intrigue phase, where you can play these schemes against other players. You'll need influence points equal to the value in the corner, that's here. This is one of the worst cards, it's conspiracy. But you don't actually need all those influence points yourself. If you can get other players to agree with you, to join in with your scheme, but you can't actually show them what the scheme is. And you don't have to nominate a target. So it's sort of a bit of a trust thing, really, that gives you room to mess other people up.
Yeah, so should you buy Spartacus? Well, okay, tell you what, here's a litmus test.
Test.
The player to your left, she says, oh, it was awful how that guy over there killed your gladiator last round. Tell you what, give me your influence and we'll play a conspiracy on him. And then you give her your influence, and instead she plays collaboration, giving 2 Dominuses plus 1 influence, and she picks herself and the other guy, and they high five and they giggle, and that guy, because you were mean to him, he plays Incite Rebellion, sending your one remaining gladiator running for the hills. Now, whether that made you smile and giggle or wince should probably steer your debit card in the right direction.
So Spartacus looks nuanced. Yeah, it looks like it has a lot of space for you to make devious plans and use those plans against your not quite so devious opponents, maybe. Plans that you can execute behind the scenes or in the arena, like rigging a fight or sending the tax collectors against an opponent, or just buffing yourself up with guards or whatever other things you might want to do. In the fairly complex game of Spartacus, a game that has ideas sort of coming out of its vomitarium, and while all these ideas link together quite well, all these different phases sort of work together, individually they're not quite as exciting separately. It just doesn't quite work.
Let's take the arena, the gladiatorial fights. So every gladiator you have will have attack and defense and speed, and that'll create a little dice pool for them. And then as the fight begins, you'll roll your speed dice to determine who goes first, and you'll maneuver. Then you'll maneuver closer, and you'll roll your red dice to attack, and your black dice to block, and then your red dice to attack, and your black dice to block, and you'll maneuver, and then you'll be fighting. And actually what's cool is these dice represent your health, so your pool will get smaller, and you'll get weaker as the fight drags on. Except it does drag on, and you'll end up chasing each other around the arena, and some fights will take a while to determine the winner, even though the winner was really decided 3 sword thrusts ago. And that's problematic. Your first few fights are exciting, the next few less so, the next few even less so. So for Spartacus to be an amazing game, its 3 phases needed to be great games in their own right. But actually, Intrigue is kind of, well, we'll get to that. The fights don't really work, and it's only the marketplace that works, and that doesn't seem right, does it?
Yeah, we're not sure about this intrigue phase with its card countering mechanic, the way that players can just toss out and burp up more cards that stop other people playing their cards, and it's like piercing someone's carefully inflated plan with a needle that they didn't know that you had.
Yeah, so many thematic games do this. They give you hands of cards and you say, I do this.
I do that.
Yeah,
you don't.
No, it's not game design. It's a substitute for game design, and it just feels so childish.
Ah, I hit you!
I hit you!
No, you didn't hit me!
I hit you!
You didn't hit me!
Hit you.
Because I have a Roman guard card, and that means I'm immune to hitting this turn.
I've got a traitor card, and that means that your card isn't a card.
No.
It doesn't do a card.
Because I'm gonna traitor your traitor card,
yeah,
and that means that.
Well, my dad made the game, and he says that I win, and that I've won the game.
Yeah, well, my dad said your dad was having sex with the cleaning lady.
So, there's a lot of hype around this game, and we're saying maybe you shouldn't be listening to all of it. But wait, give me a moment here. For a game that relies on such garrulous concepts as gambling and begging and holding the life of someone else's gladiator in your hand, to have these intrigue cards that are a little bit throwaway, that feels like an uninspired design choice, but maybe your brain is just glazing over as I come up with all these criticisms for Spartacus, because you just want to hurl big handfuls of dice around the room and stab people and pick up all these great piles of gold, and you know, that's okay, I guess. The Romans were always kind of the dumb ones, the Greeks were smart, the Romans were just big and tough and a little bit, I guess, like Spartacus, a tiny bit silly.
So, in summary, it's definitely possible to have a lot of fun with Spartacus, especially if you're a giddy, aggressive kind of person. It's cool to beat the hell out of some flabby newcomer. It's also cool to win as the underdog, you know?
It's cool to have guards.
It is cool. And this is also cool. If your gladiator wins a fight, they get a favour token. The crowd pays money to see them.
Lots of guards.
Get 3 favour tokens, you become a champion who actually earns your house and influence. And champions can be bought and sold until somebody inevitably poisons them with wine or something.
You should have guarded them with your guard.
You could get that, would be cool.
Guards are cool. Having a lot of guards is cool.
You can also bet on fights.
Shout for them.
Guards! So would you recommend Spartacus?
I don't know. I'm on kind of a knife edge. Probably more of a knife edge than I've been for any other review we've done. It's quite good, and the thing is...
You know what I don't like is that you have to be giddy and aggressive to enjoy it, and lots of the games we recommend don't have a barrier for entry.
We've recommended a lot of other games that are better.
Frankly, yeah.
Than Spartacus.
It's good.
If you really like the idea and you really want to splash something like this, something Roman and bloody and messy and beefy on your desktop or tabletop...
Yeah, you can just do it.
Desk,
you can spend your money.
table.
We're not the bosses of you.
But it's not really something we'd go out to recommend.
No.
Not immediately. Try something else first.
Oh, you know what I'd love to try?
What would you love to try?
Can you just lie down on the table?
Yeah.
What?
Get onto the table.
Don't let Paul bully you, just lie down.
No, just lay down.
Don't
This will
need
go a
some-
lot easier. if
Don't
you just
I
lay
need some
down.
kind of continuity?
There we go. See?
Am I lying on the table?
Yeah.
There we go.
Why am I doing this?
Get down.
Don't worry about it. Trust us, Brendan. It's going to be fine. I'll just cover you in gold.
And then what I can do is I can just pull your trousers down.